大点了，大点点嘛，我下去，你们就不差的要的。
Today is the 10th day of the Marnok Summer Teachings, and today I would like to offer my greetings to all of the lamas, chulkus, and geshes, all of the members of the Sangha, the monks and nuns, as well as all of my Dharma friends, everyone listening over the internet. I would like to wish you my warmest Tashi Delek. The other day, we were speaking about how Mahakashyapa had accused Ananda of several different offenses. And so today, in discussing this, we are taking as a basis for discussion the account as it appears in the four-part Vinaya, which is according to the Dharmakaptaka tradition. However, I've been supplementing it with the Mahashashaka five-part Vinaya, and as well as with the Khandaka, the lesser, the finer points of discipline from the Theravada school. And we might also wonder what is the order of the first events of the first council as presented in the other Vinaya schools. So I'd like to also mention the order of the events as described in the Mahasangaka school, as well as the order of events of the first council according to the Sarvastivada school. And then also the events according to the account in the finer points of discipline of the Tibetan Tibetan Mula Sarvastivada tradition.
Now,
the order is given in the Mahasangaka Vinaya. So it speaks about first how Mahakashyapa learned of the party's nirvana and then the decision to hold the council. And then it's the 499 arhats. It's the 499. The one was not there because Ananda had not yet achieved arhatship. So it's the 499 arhats traveling to Rajagriha. And what comes next is, and so it says that Mahakashyapa said that that Ananda was like a jackal, someone who's really deplorable, someone who's really terrible. It's like one of the worst things you can call people. He used one of the worst words you could use to describe a person and said he was like that. And then there's how Ananda roused diligence and achieved the result. And then so once Ananda had achieved arhatship, there were then 500 arhats. So the 500 arhats traveled to Rajagriha, and then they began. Excuse me, I actually have to change this a little bit. When I'm too busy and my mind gets a little foggy. Okay. So they went to the seven-leaf cave and they began to prepare for the council. Following that, And so Mahakashyapa asking questions, and then Ananda compiling the sutras, and then Kashyapa questioning of Pali and compiling the Vinaya. And then there's the listing of the 7 offenses of Ananda. But here, the person who makes the accusations, the 7 offenses, is Upali. So this is a difference. And then the discussion of how outside of the 7-leaved cave where the council was being held, there were 1,000 monks gathered, and then they had a discussion about the minor precepts. And then finally, there was a discussion of not making any new rules that the Buddha had not made, and then holding the ones and training in the precepts that the Buddha did make. And this decision was made. And so this is the order as it is given in the Mahasanghaka school. And then there's the Vinayas according to the Sarvastivada school. Now in the Tibetan, this is sometimes called the 10 recitations of the Vinaya. These days we often change we call it by different names, and we've talked about the verses of the Vinaya, but I think actually it's the 10 recitations of the Vinaya. In any case, the order as it's given in the Sarvastivada 10 recitations is how Kashyapa heard of the Buddha passing into Parivana, and how he met bhikshus who didn't want to keep the precepts, and then how he decided to hold the council. And then how Mahakashyapa included Ananda in the ranks of those who are holding the council. Then how they went to Kashyapa and the 500 bhikshus went to Rajagriha, how Kashyapa asked the Upali questions about the Vinaya, compiling the Vinaya. Then Mahakashyapa asked Ananda about the sutras, and then Kashyapa asked about Ananda about the treatises. Now the treatises here should be understood to mean the Abhidharma. And then there is the discussion about the minor precepts. Then Kashyapa accused Ananda of the 6 offenses. And finally, there's a discussion of the minor precepts, and then the decision to keep all the precepts that the Buddha made and not to make any new one. And so this is the order as it appears in the Sarvastivada tradition. Now, there is the order in the account in the Mula Sarvastivada tradition as found in the Tibetan translation of the finer points of discipline. Now, generally, when we speak about the 4 topics of the Vinaya, we consider that we have the minor topics or the finer points that are separate from the Vinaya topics or the major points of discipline. But if you look in the Chinese, then this is translated into Chinese into Chinese, and in that text, the finer points are not made as a separate Dharma text. So when we talk about the finer points of discipline, we consider this as one of the 4 major texts of the Vinaya. But in the Chinese, in the 17 in the Tibetan Vinas, we have the 17 chapters of the major points of the topics, and so they don't, in the Chinese tradition, they don't have 70 topics, but they include one as the finer points of discipline. But there are slight differences here. I think there's basically the same meaning. There are a few differences in the wording. There are slight differences in differences, but in any case, what it says is that as Mahakashyapa heard of the Buddha passing away while he was on the road, and this next is the preparations of the malas for the cremation. Then there is Mahakashyapa's final time seeing the Buddha. Then after the cremation, there was the decision made to hold the council. So then there is the appointing Ananda as like as a servant or a steward for the sangha. Basically, this is like someone we're appointing someone to take care of the affairs of the sangha. And then the discussion of Ananda going with the 500 arhats to Rajagriha to prepare for the council. And then there was Ananda asking Aniruddha to examine and investigate Ananda, and then making him feel world weariness, and then inspiring him a bit more. Then there was Mahakashyapa accusing Ananda of the 8 offenses, and once he accused him, then he basically kicked Ananda out. And then there was the Vrijiputra. Vrijiputra taught Ananda Dharma. Because of this, Ananda had a particular feeling in his mind, and because of this, Ananda achieved the result. And then Ananda returned to the council and compiled the sutras, and then Upali compiled the Vinaya. So this is the order as it described by all of the Tibetan Vinaya masters when they describe this. So this is the description in the canon, the Tibetan canon, that the masters take as their basis. But so this is the order that is given there. Now, in all of this, as I said the other day, some people say that so here it says that the accusations were made against accusation in order before he achieved enlightenment, and then he was made to leave. He was kicked out of the assembly. But in the other Vinayas, other than the Mulasavasta Vinaya, according to the Mahasangaka Vinaya, the Mahishashaka Vinaya, as the Theravada Vinaya, and most of the other translations as well, it was only after Nanda achieved the level of an arhat that he was accused of the offenses. This is the biggest difference. Otherwise, there are some slight differences, but the biggest difference is that. Likewise, within each of the Vinayas, there are different numbers of accusations about how many offenses Ananda had made. So the numbers are different. So when we think about the second version of these, the account that is found in the second account that we'll base our discussions on, the account from the commentary on the 100,000-line Prajnaparamita Sutra, we will discuss that then, and I do not need to say much more about it today. So next, what I would like to speak about next is what I would like to speak about next is the order of the Vinaya, or is to speak about this, continue speaking about it, taking the order as presented in the Dharmaguptaka 4-part Vinaya as the basis for the account. So the order is found in the 4-part Vinaya of the Dharmaguptaka. Well, I've already spoken about most of this. I've spoken about everything up to the minor precepts, that is, the preparations of the cremation, Mahakashyapa learning the Buddha's nirvana, seeing the Buddha the last time, decision to hold the council, and Nanda achieving the result, and so forth. And so we've come to the point where we need to discuss about Upali's compilation of the Vinaya. So that's what I'd like to speak about next. Now, the other day I spoke about how in the 5-part of Vinaya, after the 500 arhats had arrived in Rajagriha, it was right at the very beginning of the first month of the summer. Sometimes these are called the first, second, and third month of summer in Tibet. So basically, there are 3 months of the rainy season. And so this is the first of those 3 months. And so each of these months have their own names in Sanskrit, and the date when they arrived was at the very beginning of that first month of the rainy season. And they spent this month primarily preparing the places where the Buddha, So then the first and then the second month of the summer, they spent the time resting in dhyana and practicing meditation. And the third month they gathered and did the compilation of these sutras. And so the first person who spoke about the Vinaya, the main person who was speaking, was Upali. So the Vinaya, the way the business is conducted in the Sangha, following a very democratic method, was a rather democratic way. And so for that reason, Upali said, please everyone listen to me, and if you say that the time is all right and you consent, then from today we will invite Upali to speak about the Bhikshu and the Bhikshuni Vinaya. So this is Mahakashyapa said this. So Kashyapa said this. And this is how it is described in the account in the 5-part Vinaya. Then there's description from the Theravada Khandaka, or the finer points of discipline, and it's very similar there. In any case, once they'd already arrived in Rajagriha, they prepared the lodgings for the Sangha in Rajagriha. They had, of course, already been there in Rajagriha, but in the interim, there had been no one taking care of them. And so they needed to restore and repair and fix everything up. And so they spent the time repairing and fixing everything. So this is how it's described. Then they invited Upali, and they began the compilation of the Vinaya. Now, before they began, Kashyapa first needed to announce this to the Sangha and say, we're beginning. Are we allowed to begin? He asked them. And after he'd asked them, then Upali himself, they did this in terms of question and answer. And the person who asked the question was Kashyapa. The one who gave the responses was Upali. And so the compilation of the Vinaya was made in a form of questions and responses. Now, Upali was extremely well learned in the Vinaya. He was, of all of the Buddha's monks, he was the one who knew the Vinaya best. And so whatever you asked him about in the Vinaya, he knew everything. And so for that reason, Kashyapa took the responsibility of asking, and then Upali took the responsibility of responding. So Mahakashyapa would say, may I first ask, may I have permission to ask? And then Upali asked for permission to respond to Mahakashyapa's response, and they had to ask for the permission. And if the Sangha had no particular thoughts, if the members of the Sangha had no particular opinions, they could sit quiet and they would take it as if it's so. And if someone else had an opinion to express, then they needed to stop at that point. Now the questions that he asked, at first they asked this question. So first, Kashyapa said, where did the first defeat occur? In the Vinaya, we have different class. We have many different precepts, right? There are many different rules. There are 253. The 253 rules. Now, of course, there are different numbers of the rules in the different schools. For us, we say that there are 253 in the Mula Sarvastivada tradition. Now, these 253 precepts are all concluded in different sections. And the first section is the section of defeats. That is the first section, and among them, and these are the most important rules in the Vinaya. And so they began asking with the defeats. And so he first asked, where did the first defeat occur? Who committed the first offense? And Upali said this was in the place was Vaishali, and the offender was Sudatta, the son of Kalandaka. And so this is the answer Upali gave. And then Kashyapa continued to ask and asked, where did the second defeat occur? And Upali replied, it happened in Rajagriha with Venerable Tanika, the potter's son, who first committed the offense. Then Kapasha asked about the third defeat. Where did the third defeat occur? And Upali replied, said that there's a lake near Vaishali, the lakes of the Martakata pond. On the banks of this, Bhikshu committed this first offense. And then Kashyapa said, where did the fourth defeat occur? And then the place that occurred was also in Vaishali. And this is on the banks of the same Markata pond, or the Markata river. And he said that this is where the offense occurred. And so all of the four defeats went through in this way. First question, where did they happen? Who did they do that? What was the result, or what was the reason for making the rule, and so forth? And so then they came to the second section, the remainders. Now there are 13 remainders, right? And so since there are 13, since Kashyapa would ask, where did the first remainder happen? And then Upali would say, the first remainder happened at Shravasti, and it was first committed by a bhikshu named Kalodayan. And then they had the same questions about the second, third, and fourth remainders, and so forth. And after the remainders, there are the indeterminate dharmas. And so, Kashyapa asked, where did the first indeterminate dharma occur? And then Upali would occur and say it was in Shravasti, because then Kalodayan was the first commit this offense. And then he asked similarly about the second, third, and fourth indeterminate dharmas. And so these are also, they went through all of these in the form of question and answer. Now the next section is the lessons of the forfeitures. Now there are 30 different forfeitures, and so where they asked where did the first forfeiture occur, and then Upali would reply that the first forfeiture happened in Shravasti, and the people for whom it was made was because of the gang of six. The gang of six means the six bhikshus who had really bad behavior, right? So it's because of them that it was first done. And in this way, they went through each of the forfeitures. And then the next section is the section of the downfalls. Now, with the downfalls, there are 90. Some say that they're 92. They're more than 90. They're 90 or 92 or 91. And so when he was asked, where did the first downfall occur, then Upali then responds similarly. It happened in this place, and this person did it, and it was done because and he did this action, and this similarly about the second, third, and the fourth downfalls, and so forth. So they went through each of them in that way. And then Kashyapa came to the next section. So the precepts in the Vinaya, the next one is the confessable offenses. The confessables has many different types. And so they said, again, Kashyapa would say, where did the first confessable occur? So it happened and there was made in relation in terms of the Utpalavarana, and it's because of her that it was made. And then there are the second, third, and fourth confessables and so forth. And each of these were made, and they went through each of these in terms of question advance. And then they came to the first of the many trainings. We call these the offenses or the trainings. So in our Mulasarvastava tradition, we have 112 of these trainings. In other schools, they have different numbers. They have various different numbers. In any case, there are over 100 trainings. And so they asked again, where did the first of the many trainings occur? Then the response was, Upali said that it occurred in Shravasti. And because of whom was it made? It was because of the gang of six, the six badly behaved bhikshus who committed it. They went through each of the trainings. So they went through the bhikshu Pratimoksha. They went through each of the Vinaya rules through a question and answer to introduce each of them. And then following that, they went through the rules of the Bhikshuni Pratimoksha in turn. And then after they'd done that, after they'd gone through the precepts for the bhikshus and the precepts for the bhikshus, then what they went through next was, when was the first ordination? When was the first bhikshu ordained? When did it occur? Where did it occur? And the place was in Varanasi, and the people who were given the ordination were the good group of five. So the good group of five were the first ones to become the first bhikshus, and the place where they were given the ordination was in Varanasi. And then Kashyapa asked, where was the Vinaya discipline or Pratimoksha first taught? And then Upali said in response to this, the Pratimoksha Sutra was first taught in Rajagriha, and it was taught to many new monks there. And then the next one is, where was the first rains retreat held? And then, in response, Upali said it was held in Shravasti. Now, the reason why it's held was, again, because of the gang of six, the six badly behaved monks. That's why they had to hold the first rains retreat. And then there is the question of, where was the first Pravarana, such as the release of strictures at the end of the rains retreat? Where is that held? And then the response of the place is held in Shravasti, and the main condition for it to occur was because of the gang of six bhikshus. And so in this way, they went through. They had a lot of question and answers about the Vinaya, and this went through all of the. What the bhikshus all did is they combined all of the things described. All of the points that applied to the bhikshus. Before that, they hadn't been collected into one. They're all in separate different places. But once Upali had said all of them, they took all of the points that concerned the bhikshus, they combined them all into one. They took all of the precepts of the bhikshus and they made them into one. And that was the compilation of the Bhikshu Vinaya. They compiled the Vinaya. And then they gathered all the points related to the bhikshunis and they compiled the Bhikshuni Vinaya. And then they took all of the Sangha actions or the ceremonies related to full ordination and compiled those. this is as described in the Vinavayavastra. And so this is following the order that's in our major topics of the Vinaya. They gathered everything related to the Poshadhara Sojong and compiled the chapter on Prasuta. They gathered everything about the rains retreat, creating the chapter on the rains retreat. They gathered everything on Pravarana and compiled the chapter on the Pravarana. They gathered everything related to the usage of leather into the chapter on leather. Then they gathered all the points about robes and compiled the chapter on robes. And similarly, they took everything related to medicine and put it into the chapter on medicines. And then there is about the Katina. We spoke about spreading the Katina the other day, right? And so they made a special chapter on the Katina. And basically, they made the Pratimoksha, the Vinaya Vibhanga, the commentary on the rules. Then they had the chapters on the major chapters on discipline. They compiled all of these. And then in addition, they added some extra things, and they added all of these together. And the name that we give this all together is the basket of the Vinaya. So the basket of the Vinaya is the overall name. And within that, there's a Pratimoksha, there is the Vinaya Vibhanga, there is the major topics of discipline, and so forth. There are many different sections. So this is how it developed. Now, what I was just describing is the way it is described in the 4-part Vinaya. Now, in the 5-point Vinaya, it's very similar. And I think there's no point if I say it again. It's basically the same. There are a few little differences, but not a whole lot of differences. So I don't think I need to go through it. And then the Theravada tradition, in the Theravada Khandaka, it's basically the same. So in brief, in all of these schools, the Vinaya discipline for the bhikshus and the bhikkshunis were done in form of question and answer. Kashyapa would ask questions, and Upali would answer. But it wasn't they were sitting separately and only talking about the two of them talking together. But there were 500 arhats there, all 500 arhats present, and it was in the middle of that gathering of arhats that Kashyapa and Upali engaged in their dialogue. So that is how Upali compiled the Vinaya. And then following that, there is how Ananda's recitation or compilation of the sutras. So to describe this, before Ananda could compile the sutra, then Kashyapa had to ask permission from the Sangha. He said, "Great Venerable Ones, as members of the Sangha, please listen to me. If the time has come and you all agree to it, then today I shall ask Ananda everything about the Dharma, about the sutras." And Ananda said, then, "Bhikshus, please listen to me. If the time has come and you all consent." And so then when Mahakashyapa questions me, may I respond to them? And so they both had to ask permission of the Sangha to hold the dialogue. This was like the ritual of the time. This was the way the Sangha worked at that time. And then Mahakashyapa began to actually ask Ananda about the sutras. Now, the questions he asked about the basket of sutras, now what I'm speaking about is the way it's described in the 4-part Vinaya. So what it says here is, there's a sutra called the Brahmajala Sutra, the Sutra Brahma's Net. Where was this first taught? And likewise, there is a book called the Book of Wands. And so where was that taught? And then there's the Sutra of Formation and Destruction of the World, or the Abhinishkrama Sutra. Where was that taught? Likewise, where was the Sutra of Great Interdependence, the Mahanidana Sutra? Where is that taught? Then where is the Sutra of Shaku's questions and so forth? In any case, he mentioned the name of each sutra, and asked where was it given, and asked Nanda about each of them. Ananda answered each of them, say they're made in this. So this sutra said in this was, and he introduced each of them in turn. So they had this dialogue about these sutras, and by then introducing them in this way or describing them in this way, then the Sangha, based on this, compiled all these sutras. Now, the sutras are divided into sutras. The longer ones, the sutras that are a bit longer than those, these are called the long discourses, the Dirgha Nikaya. Now, the medium-length sutras, they combine them all together, and these are called the middle-length discourses. And among them, there are particular. There's a section of sutras that talk about the different types of different categories of dharmas, going from one category to 10 categories. And they're all compiled together, and they're called the numerical discourses. Likewise, there are also various sutras that were taught to various bhikkhus and bhikkhunis, lay practitioners, or gods of chakra, the Maras and Brahmas, and they compiled all of these together, and they put them all in the connected discourses of the Samyukta Agama. So these are basically the 4 agamas, or the 4 sets of scriptures. Then there are many other sutras, the Sutra of Birth, the Bhattacaka Sutra, and so forth, many other sutras. Now, most of these are not in our Tibetan canon. Particularly the 4 agamas, the four scriptures are not in Tibetan. This is a very bad situation, a difficult situation. These days, many scriptures say that in terms of Buddha history, when they research Buddhist history, that the example of the early Buddhist scriptures are these 4 agamas, the 4 scriptures. But we don't have these 4 scriptures in the agama, the 4 scriptures in the Tibetan. Now, we do have a few sections of them in them. For example, the Sutra of Brahma's Net. We do have a couple of these, or a few of these different sections, but we don't have the entire. But it is in Pali. It is there is a translation of Sarvastavada for agamas. So in the future, we
가서 켐바 유행게 나는 신기야 슈겐 유행된 게 된제게 기부 담아 된제게야 그래서 롱 디시디 수 베게 나로야 유튜브 종이비나
if in the future we are able to find someone who knows the scriptures well, knows the Tibetan well, and is able to translate them into Tibetan, and does so, then this would be very good. So if I have the opportunity to do this and the ability to do this, and I'll see if I will be able to do it. But it's going to be difficult for me to do it all on my own for such a big practice. But in any case, this is something that all of us who practice Tibetan Buddhism need to keep in mind. Now, I spoke about the 4 agamas, or the 4 scriptures, and then there are the sutras on birth and Jatkamostra, the sutras on the results of virtuous calm, the sutra of gathering, the sutra of no increase, the sutra of analogies, the sutra of the meaning, the words, and the verses of Dharma, and then the sutra of verses on the Dharma. Now, this is actually in Tibetan. It was later. It was translated by Gendun Sherpa. And then there are the Parayana Sutra. And then the sutras on the verses of the Dharma, the sutras of the verses of the Noble Ones, and so forth. Now, within this is like what we call in Tibetan, we call them the many sutras. And so this is like a different gather. It's called the various sutras, or and then they also say that they compiled a basket of the Abhidharma. And in any case, all 3 of the Pitakas, or baskets of the Dharma, were compiled at that time, as it is said. So this is how it's described in the 4-part Vinaya. Now it is described similarly in the five-part Vinaya. The main thing is that they asked, where did the Buddha say, what sutra did he taught in each place, who was it said for what student or what individual was it spoken, what are the sutras that were taught for bhikshus, what are the ones taught for the bhikshunis, what are the ones taught for male lay practitioners, those taught for female lay practitioners, and those taught for gods and goddesses and so forth. They had all the questions related to the sutras. And then following, they also compiled the basket of the sutras, and it's described in a very similar way, so I don't think I need to repeat it. Likewise, in the Theravada Khandaka, the description in the Theravada Khandaka is similar to the description found in the four-part Vinaya and the five-part Vinaya. So if we think about the order of the first council as described in the four-part Vinaya, then there's a section about regarding Vinaya, or regarding Purana. So following the compilation of the sutras, there's discussion regarding Purana. So Purana was a very important student of the Buddhas. Some say that he was the greatest or the foremost at teaching Dharma. So among all the bhikshus who taught Dharma to other people, the number one was Purana, it was said. He was very skilled at teaching the Dharma. Now, at that time, the elder Purana was not included among the bhikshus holding the council. He was in a different place. But he heard that there were the 500 bhikshus gathering in Rajaguna and to compile the Vinaya and the Dharma. When he heard this, then he also brought a group of 500 bhikshus and went to the direction of Rajagriha, as I described here. Now, as I said before, it always says 500, 500. But does it actually mean 500? It could just be a plural. When it says 500, 500, when it's people, it's 500. And when it's chariots, 500. When it's cloth, it's 500. So it's always 500 of something. In any case, Purana went to Rajagriha, and when they arrived where Kashyapa and the others were staying, what he said to Kashyapa was, I've heard that you and 500 arhats have been compiling the Dharma and the Vinaya. I would also like to participate and to hear the Dharma. But here there's a question here. And this question is that at that time, it was during the middle of the council where Kashyapa and the 500 bhikshus had gathered. So at that point, there were 500 bhikshus there. And then Purana came with another 500 bhikshus. So in total, then you had 1,000 bhikshus. But later on there, it says that there are only 500 bhikshus. And so this is a little... So it's a little interesting. So Purana comes with the 500 bhikshus, and they all come. They didn't. So did they stay for the entire compilation of the Vinaya or not? It's very difficult. It's not clear, and so I do have a question about that. In any case, Purana arrived in Rajagriha and said, I'd like to be and participate in the council. He asked Kashyapa about this, and when Kashyapa said this, probably at the point where they're discussing the Vinaya. And as they're discussing the Vinaya, Purana heard them discussing the Vinaya and the rules of the Vinaya, and when they had finished, Purana said that we say it's really good that you've compiled all these sutras in the Vinaya. We agree with all of this. We basically have all of this, but there are eight dharmas that we don't agree on. And what they are, and these are ones that in the past, when I was in the presence of the Buddha, I actually heard him. And what I heard is that I'll speak about these a bit later. These are about, maybe it's better to speak about them now. Whether you're allowed to store food in the monastery, whether it's possible to store food for the Sangha to eat in that, whether if you're allowed to cook inside a monastery, if a bhikshu would be able to cook their own food, if they're able to take food, if you could accept food that was not given to you by someone else, that someone else hadn't given to them in your hand, or if you could pick fruit on your own that had grown naturally. Also, there are many different types of foods that grow in the water, if you would be able to pick those. Likewise, there are also people who clean the food for us. There is someone separate who peeled the fruit for the Sangha. And so if there's no person, if there's someone who had offered something to the Sangha, if there were no lay people so the tradition was that there'd be people who would clean the food and prepare the food for the bhikshus. They were householders. And so he said that he had heard that the Buddha said it was okay to receive food that was not actually cleaned by these lay people who prepared the Buddha's food. So Purana said he'd heard that the Buddha say this. He heard it himself. So you say that these are not okay, but that does not accord with what the Buddha actually said to me. Now the answers that Kashyapa gave is that it was as you said, and the reason why the Buddha said it at that time was that there were bad harvests, and the food, there was less food, and the people are having, householders are having less difficult finding food. And so there was a famine. And since this particular time, famine is a particular time, so out of compassion, so he said that even though we're not usually allowed to store food, he allowed us to store food. And gave permission for us to store food inside the monasteries. But later there were good harvests, and food and drink became very plentiful, and everyone had bountiful resources of food and clothing. And so then the Buddha again revised the Viharas and included those 8 dharmas among the prohibited precepts, so they were not allowed. And Purana said to Kashyapa, the way you're saying is not okay. The way you said it's not all right. The reason is the Buddha is omniscient. Once he'd made a rule, then if he then allows you to do it, and then later after he'd allowed it, then again to prohibit the same thing. He never did this. Well, Kashyapa said it is. It is because the Buddha is omniscient that he made the Vinaya rules. And in particular, the way he made the rules is he looked at the situation and the time, and he made allowances or prohibitions according to the time. For example, in some times situations, he would allow things, and in some times and situations, and he would prohibit them. So this is the way the Buddha made the rules. Likewise, when we compile the words, we are taking what the Buddha said as the basis. We are not making rules that the Buddha did not make. And if the Buddha made a rule, that once he had made it, we are not discarding it, we're not abandoning it. We are taking the Buddha's words as a basis and following them and studying those. So this is how it is described in the 4-part Vinaya. Now it's also very similar in the 5-part Vinaya. It's basically the same. And it's basically the same in the Theravada Vinaya. So the main point here is that the Purana was an important student of the Buddhas. And he had some opinions about the compilation of the Dharma. So there are a few things just saying that are not good, and he said that definitely explained his opinions. And so it seems that Upana did not, that Purana did not agree to everything that Kashyapa and the 500 Arhats had agreed upon in the council. And so this is an important point for those of us to do research and those of us who are researching the Vinaya and so forth. So basically that's all for today. Now, today we won't have a second hour, so we won't have the second hour session. And then, let's say tomorrow is a day off. So next, what I would like to say is, so when I speak of not, I'm saying tomorrow, it's not actually tomorrow, but it's not the actual really tomorrow. So several days later, the today that's several days from now. So in a few days from now, when we have finished the teaching, on the 11th, we will recite the Shakyamuni Puja. And this last year, we also did this. This is we talk about the four we have the 4 particular Kadampa Yidam deities. And the first of these is Shakyatupa, the master of the teachings. And then this special refuge for the snowland of Tibet, Avalokiteshvara. The third is Lord Atisha's special deity, the Lady Dharma. And then the greatest deity for dispelling obstacles, Achala. And so these are the 4 Yidam deities of the Kadampa tradition. They're the primarily practices that they do. Now, our Tapo Kagyu tradition is like the confluence of the Kadampa and Mahamudra traditions. It is the Mahamudra that it came from, the Mahamudra and the 6 yogas that descend from Naropa, Maitripa, Telopa, and so forth. And in addition to that, it is also combining that with the instructions of the Kadampa tradition, the stages of the path, and mind training, and so forth. These are considered important as like the basis for the foundation for the path. And for that reason, since the Kadampa, the Kagyu tradition is it's called the confluence of the Kadampa and Mahamudra, or the union of Mahamudra and Kadampa. So it's a name that is given, but the degree to which we followers are able to live up to the really good name is something that actually is a bit doubtful, but from the one perspective, it is one of the special deities of the Yidam is the Buddha Shakyamuni, and another perspective, it's unnecessary to mention that Shakyamuni is the Lord or the Master of the teachings. So for that reason, last year we recited the Shakyamuni Puja, and we will do it again today. Last year, I showed you, we just displayed the text that you recite, but I hadn't written the entire text. I didn't have time to do it. So this year, so like I've basically written the entire ritual. I spent a long time and put a lot of work into it. And I'm sort of wondering, why am I putting all of this work into it? But sometimes I thought maybe it'd bring some benefit to everyone. In any case, I've put some time into it and done some research. And I've basically completed this Shakyamuni Puja. And if we have the time, I hope to write a praise of the Buddha. So that's my own hope. So then my thought is that it's in order to help all of the people who related me to gather the accumulation of merit. Now, whether I'll be able to recite it or not, isn't it? Because the reason is that if I'm preparing for the teachings and also preparing the ritual and preparing the liturgy, and I'm getting mixed up in my head. And sometimes it gets really, really strange. But in any case, I've basically completed it. And if I have enough time, then I also write a praise of the Buddha, and so I include that in the Shakyamuni ritual. So now we will have the dedication prayers.